Good morning, everybody. I wanted to create for you a video that's going to go through the review for the test tomorrow. What I would like for you to do is to take the review, do the review, and then come back to this video and check your work. So what I'm going to do is, as you have already seen, I'm going to put it onto the Google Classroom, the times of each one starting, so that way you know where to go to find the answers. The answers are obviously on the back of the page, but getting to the answer is the hard part. The answer is easy part. So if you would like, do again the test review on your own and then come back and check your work. So let's start with question one. So it's asked for all the first four are going to be factoring and solving. And I put a note here, remember, finding the zeros, solving, finding the roots, finding the x, all means we're going to set the y equal to 0, and we're going to factor, and we're going to get x by itself. That's what solving, finding the roots, finding the zeros means. Okay, so let's begin with this one. The lead coefficient is 1, so I know I'm going to use traditional factoring. Well, I don't see any GCFs or anything like that. So I'm going to do, sorry, here, start over again. I'm going to find the factors of -8 that when added together give me -2. So I have -8 times 1, I have -1 times 8, I have -4 times 2, I have -2 times 4. So this equals 7 when I add them together. That's not right. This equals +7. That's not right. This equals -2. This is the correct answer right here. So I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to change it to 0, the y. So it's going to be 0 equals, parenthesis, x minus 4, x plus 2. I then make my line down the middle. This first one, 0 equals x minus 4, and 0 equals x plus 2. I then subtract 2 to both sides. I get -2 equals x, and I add 4 to both sides, and I get x equals 4. So the correct answer here is x equals 4 and -2. I saw some people on your papers writing it like this with the squiggly brackets. I am okay with that because squiggly brackets means roster form, which means the whole list of all the x's it can be. Beautiful. Let's go to the next question. Question 2. Find the zeros of the following quadratic by factoring. Now this is a quadratic where the lead coefficient is not 1. I can also see, this is good news, that 3 is a factor of all three numbers. So I'm going to pull out the 3. So I'm going to, again, set this equal to 0. I'm going to do 0 equals, let's pull out the GCF of 3. I'm left with x squared minus 5x plus 6. So now I'm going to make my factor table. Factors of 6 when added together give me -5. There's really two options here. It's 3 times 2. Since they're both negative, I'm going to do that. Be careful. If I had chosen 6 times 1, either they both have to be positive or they both have to be negative. And if I did positive, it's 7. And if I did negative, it's -7. So it only can be -3 and -2. So I'm going to redo and my numbers here for factoring. 0 equals 3 times x minus 3, x minus 2. I then make my lines. Don't forget to make your line with 3. Now in this case, 0 does not equal 3, so that's not true. So that gets crossed off. It's not true. Then we have 0 equals x minus 3 and 0 equals x plus 2. Oh, minus 2, sorry, minus. Let me erase that so it's clear. Minus 2, and therefore x equals 3 and x equals 2. And you don't have to worry about the 0. It does not equal 3. Good? Okay. Third one. Find the roots of the following quadratic by factoring. Now, it is a binomial. There are no greatest common factors. So I say, is this the difference of two perfect squares? And sure enough, x times x and 4 times 4. So it is the difference of two perfect squares. So I can quickly do 0 equals, and I know I'm going to do an x here and an x here, and I'm going to do my 4, and one's going to be plus and one's going to be minus. So therefore, when I put my line down the middle, x equals -4 and x equals 4. Okay, Last question, find the roots of the following quadratic. This is a cubic now. I can see that there is a GCF, which is x. So I'm going to pull out the x. I'm left with x squared minus 2x minus 24 equals 0. So now I'm going to make my factor table. I'm going to find the factors of negative 24. When added together, they're give me negative 2. There are a lot of factors of negative 24. There's negative 24 times 1. I'm not going to worry about going flip-flop. There's negative 12 times 2. There's negative 6 times 4. And there's negative 3 times 8. Okay, so there's a lot. So now I'm going to quickly go through and do my math. This is negative 23. That's not right. This is negative 10. That's not right. This is negative 2. That's right. So there's my answer. Now look at this. I'm left with x parenthesis. I should have made myself more room here. X minus 6 times x plus 4 equals 0. When I make my 3 lines, if you notice right now, x can be 0. So that's an option. Then I have x equals 6, and I have x equals negative 4. So just so we're clear, the 3 solutions here are, and I'll also make a squiggly bracket, 0, 6, negative 4. Those are my 3 solutions. Okay? All right, moving on to word problems. This was L8. Here's a consecutive integer word problem. Let's see it. The product, number 5, the product of 2 consecutive integers is 24 more than 6 times the smaller integer. So let's see. Product of 2 consecutive integers. So let's first do a let statement. Let's let the first number be x. Let's the second number, remember consecutive integers are going to be x plus 1. Even and odd are going to be x plus 2, x plus 4, x plus 6, okay? So the product of 2, product means multiplication. So I'm going to do x times x plus 1. This word is, means equals. And now we're going to do the rest. 24 more than 6 times the smaller. The smallest number is going to be x. 6x plus 24. Now let's start working through this problem. So we're going to distribute the x to both numbers. So we give x squared plus x equals 6x minus 24. Let's get everything over to one side because we have to get it so that you're in standard form. I'm left with x squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. Okay, so now I'm going to make my table. Let me change the color here. And I'm going to find the factors of negative 24 when added together giving negative 5. So we already went through a few of these. Let's start with the one we didn't see yet. Negative 8 times 3. Negative 8 times 3, negative 8 plus 3 is going to be negative 5. So that's going to be our choice. So I'm going to factor this out. X minus 8 times x plus 3 equals 0. Real quick, when I hear the word solve with a quadratic, I think factor first. Okay. Make a line down the middle. We get x equals 8. We get x equals negative 3. Now, the thing about consecutive integers is there can be 2 solutions. So let's do this. The first solutions are going to be 8 and 9, because the first one is 8 and 9. The second one is going to be negative 3, negative 2. So I'm going to put a little circle around these because they're 2 different things. We have 8 and 9, and we have negative 3, negative 2. Okay, so those are my solutions. All right, so let's go on to the next question, which is question 6. The height in meters can be modeled by this equation. Now, this is a binomial. Algebraically find the amount of time it takes for the object to reach the ground. In this case, I can see that the C term, right, is 0. So this graph is actually like this. It's actually being shot off the ground, this object. But I'm looking for the amount of time it takes for the object to reach the ground. We also certainly have when it started from the ground too. So we're looking for, after it's been shot up, how long does it take to reach the bottom? So let's factor this thing. We're going to set it equal to 0. negative 16t squared plus 64t. We're going to take out the GCF. Now, let's just confirm that 16 goes into 64. And if you remember, I want the x squared, in this case the t squared, to be positive. So I'm going to do 64 divided by negative 16. And I'm left with negative 4. Good. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do 0 equals negative 16. T is also a GCF, parenthesis. I'm left with positive t minus 4. So now when I make my line down the middle, I get 0 equals negative 16t, and I get 0 equals t minus 4. Therefore, when I divide by negative 16, looky, looky, 0 equals t. We knew that already because we could see that the c term was 0. And 4 equals t. So how many seconds does it take? It takes 4 seconds to reach ground. Okay. The final question we haven't done in it's been now a few weeks, completing the square. If you've forgotten how to do this, refer back to U8L4 and go to day 2 U8L4, which I did, and I want to make sure that you guys know how to do that. Most of you were really good with this. I'm really, really proud of you and happy about it, but let's make sure that we're good with this. So write the following equation in vertex form using completing the square. So let's do this problem. Here's the equation. So I'm going to first take the b term. First of all, make sure it's in standard form, which it is. Lead coefficient. Everything's over to one side, enlarge the smallest exponent. So I'm going to take my b term, which is negative 6, and divide it by 2, and I get negative 3, and I box it. That's my clue for a few minutes later. I'm now going to take negative 3, I'm going to square it. I get 9. That's my new c term. I'm going to take my numbers. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x. I'm now going to add and subtract in my new c. So I'm going to add 9, and I'm going to subtract 6. Always in that order. Always plus and then minus. Minus 10 equals y. I'm now going to take my perfect square trinomial, and this is where we come to the clue, and I'm going to rewrite it as a binomial squared, which is going to be x minus 3 squared. And now I'm going to write what's left over, which is negative 19 equals y. And that is in vertex form, and I'm done. Write the following equation in vertex form. It is in vertex form. Parenthesis x minus 3 squared minus 19 equals y. What is the vertex of the equation? Remember, it's going to be the same number, different sign for the x, so it's going to be positive 3, same number, same sign for the y, which is going to be negative 19, and that's our final answer. Okay, if you are struggling with that, review Unit 8, Lesson 4. Final question. Describe in words the difference between f of x equals x squared and g of x equals negative 4x squared. Let's go to our calculator for that. No problem. Let's go here. Let's go to y equals. Let me clear out anything that's there. You should do the same. Clear out 3. Okay, so now let's put x squared in first. Why did 3 not delete? Sorry about that. 3. Delete. Clear. Okay. So now I'm going to go to x squared, and I'm also going to put in negative 4x squared. Okay. So let's graph this thing. So the first graph in red is the x squared, and the second graph, g of x, is the black. So describe in words what happened. Well, first of all, first thing that happened, big time, it flipped. The graph flipped down. I'm going to write concave down. If you wrote down, I'd be fine with it, but the formal way to say it is flipped concave down. And let's see what else happened to the graph. Where's my calculator? There it is. What else happened to the picture? Well, remember the red, and then you have the black. So I would say that it got more narrow. So I'm going to write down more narrow. What actually is happening is it's stretching. Okay, it's stretching. That's it for me. I will put this up, and I wish you all luck on the test tomorrow. There will be office hours from 1 to 2 if you wanted to meet with me before you take the test. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye now.